Hey, team, as promised, we're always going to bring you experts. And in the world of sales and the world of business, there's so much crossover inside of business. I know I tend to speak a lot about sales, have guests on here about sales, but today we're bringing on a featured CEO who he knows how all the parts of businesses work. But first, we want to welcome to the Sales Edge podcast. Believe it or not, number 292. We're excited about that. I am your host, Joe Pici, and I want to thank our sponsors, Pici and Pici Inc., which is a speaking, coaching, training, consulting firm specializing in helping our clients negotiate higher fees, get in front of their target market, and close more business. And sellmorevirtually.com. I'm out there every Thursday night with a live coaching or training, e-courses, tremendous downloads, and featuring the free webinar.
Sorry. My thing is like it's all glitchy for a minute. So let me just run around the house, make sure nobody else is on the internet because it was not good for all of a sudden. Sorry.
No problem.
We're good.
All right, should be okay. Well, I don't know what happened. Like
That's
right now, we
want me to start over.
Yeah, take it, start all over again, okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, but good, just for you.
We're good.
All right, sorry. It was weird because like right now it's perfect, and then you start talking, all of a sudden I don't know. I'm like, what?
No problem. All right, we're ready.
Here
3,
we go. And
two,
two.
1. Hey, team, I'm so excited. In the world of sales, we're always talking about that. But today we brought on an expert, somebody who understands the CEO, the COO, how sales works, how operations work. This is an ongoing challenge as well as, we're going to talk about those things today. But before we get to our guest, I want to welcome you to the Sales Ed podcast, number 292. And that's exciting. And we're just so excited about having Ken on. But, thank you. Thank you so much for our sponsors, Pici and Pici, which is a speaking, coaching, training company. Right now, we're specializing in helping companies recapture lost revenue, negotiate higher fees, get in front of their target market, and sell more virtually. That's our web-based membership platform. Every Thursday night, I'm out there doing a live coaching or training. We got e-courses. We especially want you to go to sellmorevirtually.com. Take advantage of the free webinar, 9 Essentials of Sales Success. And we want to thank you. You are the reason why we're growing around the world. So let me talk to you about Ken. I'll tell you about the personal part in a minute, but let me just tell you what he does professionally. He helps clients focus their teams to increase sales and grow profits. He's been working for over 30 years doing this. He has developed a method for helping motivating leaders understand where they're stuck. And we all know that companies are stuck right now. He's the guy that goes in and fixes them. He helps them with their systems, their processes, their structures, making sure everything aligned. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Their key targets, improving communications and actually turning things around for them. He specializes in executive leadership, sales, and operations, especially in distressed and turnaround situations. Ken has been a full-time or fractional CEO and COO of several organizations and serves as a senior consultant at PwC and Arthur Andersen. Welcome back, Ken.
Hey, Joe, great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. And just to be clear on the intro, I served past tense with PwC and Arthur Anderson. Arthur Anderson, I don't even think is a thing anymore. So,
well, that's okay.
Yeah, that was a while back. So, but it was a great experience in those are big organizations. So,
well, we've known each other a couple years now, and our relationship is not just clients to each other, but also friends. And I know that Ken comes to our sales boot camp and brings his team. He's become a fixture. People actually call me up and say, Ken is the best they've ever seen at reaching out to people before they get into boot camp and setting up appointments. So tell me why you do that.
Well, it's a great question. I appreciate that. And it's great to hear that people have noticed that. But it's because it's all about your network. People are the solution to every problem. Somebody knows what you need, whatever it is that you need. And so the bigger your network, the better chance you've got at solving some problems quickly. And every opportunity that I've ever gotten, and I think that ever exists in the world, comes from another person. So if you want more opportunities, you need to know more people. So before we go to the boot camp, I'm going to connect with everybody I know is coming. And once I get there, I'm going to connect with everybody who's there, just to build a network. And it's a reciprocity thing. It's not just for me. It's actually, how can I serve you? And I'm confident that if there's an opportunity, something will come around, but that's not the point. The point is to reach out and be of service to people and continue to build that network. And one of my favorite things is to be able to meet people that I can then connect to someone else. So it's not about me. It's about how can I connect people that I know that should know each other. So that's the point of all that.
And it's amazing because you've done it now. You've been doing it for 2 years, and people now know about that. Don't even know you because the word gets the word. That's a word. There's this guy, Ken from Michigan. He's going to call you. That's what they say. He's going to call you, and he's going to set up coffee with you.
Yep, that is true.
Yeah.
Basically anybody who's a guest on your podcast, I'm going to contact. So,
we
and
know
of course,
that.
and I'm going to call them because what else would you do knowing the Joe Pici system? So got to pick up the phone.
Well, let's get started here. You know,
Sure.
you this whole CEO and COO thing. I want to start with you on a subject that's really near and dear to you about leadership. I'd like you to speak into the importance about having great leadership in a company today.
Yeah, again, good question. And my take on that is that everything starts and ends with people. Every problem that you have in your business is probably a people problem. I've heard it said that business is easy until people get involved. The good news, though, is that people are also the solution. And so and it starts at the top. You've got to have leaders that understand that the people are the solution, and that empowering people, training people, coaching people up, getting the best out of people and making them feel part of the team is how you win in business. And I know you're a football coach from back in the day, and sports is a great analogy for business because it takes the whole team. Everybody's got different roles, but you win together and you lose together. There's no winners on the losing team. And so we've got to pull everybody together, get everybody aligned. And that's the leader's job. The leader's job, it's the conductor in an orchestra. You don't need to be able to play the trumpet. Nobody's asking you to play the flute. You got to be up there conducting those things and empowering people and leading people. And that's the role of the leader. And so for business to win, you've got to really understand your role as the leader and how you serve your team, not how they serve you.
All right. So in your career, I would like you to address this during this answer here. What is a fractional CEO? But now, whether you're fractional or you're in there, embedded in there, tell me what you see as your role as a CEO of a company.
Sure, absolutely. So just to address the fractional part, fractional just is something that I've done. We didn't used to call it fractional. That's becoming a more popular term. But the idea is you're kind of time sharing talent. So maybe you're a smaller company who can't afford a full-time high-level chief operating officer. So maybe you bring somebody like me in for a day a week or a couple days a month, or maybe it's more than that. So it doesn't have to be full time, but you probably don't need it full time. You also probably can't afford it full time. So you can slice somebody up. So somebody like me could work a couple days here a week and then a couple days a different company during the week. And then that it's a way to get talent you might not have access to by kind of slicing it up into fractional pieces. So that's where that comes from. And now I've already forgotten. What was the other question?
The second part was as your role as a CEO, COO, but we'll get to the separation of what they are. But
sure.
What is your role? What is it that you do as a CEO?
Well, great question. So it's to do that conductor role. It's to figure out what everyone is doing, figure out what everybody should be doing, and then get those things aligned. When I come into a company initially, whatever the time frame is in those leadership type roles, the first thing I do, and this is your sales process, it's discovery. Got to ask a lot of questions. Got to talk to the leaders. Got to talk to everybody on the team. Depending on the size of the company, I might literally talk to everybody on the team and just understand what they see and what their perspective is on things. And I'll usually ask to help people kind of frame up their answers is, what should we stop doing? What should we start doing? And what should we keep doing? It just helps people kind of pinpoint what's good and what's working and what's not working. But you got to understand what's going on. You got to do an assessment of where we are and what the issues are, and then really sift through that, because you're going to get a lot of answers from a lot of different perspectives, and you got to sift that through to get down to what's really going on here. Where are the real issues, and what's really happening that really needs to change, and then bring that to the people that brought me in. Typically that could be, if it's a COO role, it'd be a CEO, or if it's a CEO role, there's a board or owners or something. And you say, here's what I'm seeing. Here's the plan. And then it's communicating that both up and then back down to the team. Here's what I saw. Here's what I heard. Here's where I think we need to go. And this is the plan, because communication ultimately is where most companies struggle. And that's the place you got to start to fix. Is when people know what to do. People come to work, they want to do a great job, but when they don't know, they're just going to guess and do their best. Nobody's coming to work trying to wreck things. They want to do their best, but you got to help them know what winning looks like. Yeah. And that's through communication. But it all starts with that discovery process. You just got to understand what's going on. And you do that just like in sales by asking a lot of questions.
Right. Well, the other day we had, what's her name? Meredith on. Mm-hmm. She was talking about so many changes that are out there in today's economy from a sales perspective. I'd like you to, from an internal business perspective, what are some of the challenges companies are facing today with what we've lived through the last 2 years?
Yeah, it's definitely, there's some big challenges from just specifically these last 2 years. And I've always believed that culture is what drives companies. That's what winning teams have that losing teams don't have. And again, you see this in sports. There's teams that perpetually win, and there's teams that seem to perpetually lose. And there's something in the culture of those organizations that leads to that. And so maintaining that culture and growing healthy, strong, winning cultures during lockdowns and pandemics and remote work has been very challenging. And now it's apparent that that's not going away, at least the work from home, remote work, dispersed workers kind of thing. And so the challenge for leaders is really to figure out, how do we create a cohesive, healthy culture when people aren't coming together physically anymore, when we're spread out? Because when people get off on islands, it gets back to that idea that people are trying to do their best, but if they don't know what that is, they're going to kind of guess and go off in different directions. So to get everybody aligned, it's a lot easier to do that when you can literally see everybody, talk to everybody, see that somebody's maybe a little off track, go over and talk to them casually. When everybody's remote, you got to be much more intentional about that. And it's just, that I would say is the biggest challenge right now, is to keep people focused and aligned through your communication. And kind of a sidebar to that is just to reduce the fear. There continues to be so much anxiety and so much fear about what's happening and what's the future and what's going to change and in society and with politics. And you can say, well, that doesn't have anything to do with business, but people are people, and their life is one whole thing. We try to separate work from home, but when you're literally working from home, that gets even harder. But even before that, you're one whole person, and what affects you outside of work, you bring that to work. If you're having a problem with some kids or your money or something, you're going to bring that to work. So now there's all this fear and anxiety around society and pandemics and what's going to happen next. Well, people are bringing that to work. And so to help them process that and to help them reduce that anxiety, both so they can be better in their life as a person, but also so they can bring their best to work, because nobody's their best at work when they're stressed out, whether that's stressed about their finances or stressed out about a global pandemic. Stress is stress, and it affects how you work. So that's a kind of a ancillary challenge to the culture, kind of another part of that culture that leaders are responsible for. You've got to reach out and take care of those things. And I don't know that anybody's quite figured that out yet. It's still too early, but that's the challenge.
All right. So as the captain of the ship or the head coach of the company you're with, okay, what are some of the things that you're working to implement? Some things that you feel you're getting some traction with, you're gaining ground with, that maybe you can help the audience with understand, hey, these are some of the things that we're working on to try to pull our culture together to become more effective.
Yeah, again, great questions. So I would say on that one, what I've done successfully with the company I'm working mostly with right now, but also just in general historically, is defining that culture. If you're going to say this is who we are and how we behave and what we're trying to accomplish, well, it's really helpful to have that written down and not some mission statement with cut and paste words off some website, but actually what you're trying to do in simple language that everybody can go, okay, I get what we're trying to do, and so that you can prioritize off that. And then in the culture, you got to define those core values. How are we going to behave? What is important to us? What makes us unique, and how it works here versus some other company? And when you can get those things defined and get that written down, it really helps to get people to draft in behind that. It also is going to help with some self-selection. Some people are going to say, hey, you know what? If that's what we're trying to do, or if that's how we need to behave, this isn't for me. And that's okay. But when you can document that and reinforce that, what it allows is for people to self-select, and you end up with the people who buy into that vision and who buy into those values. And now you can start really building on that healthy culture. And that's what's going to drive results. Because when people can work together, it's a lot more effective than people not. Again, sports analogy. If the football team knows the play and everybody's doing their job, you're gonna gain some yards. And if somebody doesn't do their job or doesn't know the play, it just doesn't work. And so you need everybody aligned. And so working on that core purpose and those core values to make sure that people are clear is really critical.
This morning, dark 30, after I got off my stationary bike, it was about 10 to 4, and I went on, I was checking my email. But before I got on my email, there was an article that flashed up, and it was about the Super Bowl champion Washington Redskins. What was that, 92?
It was a while ago.
And they were so good, so rehearsed, so culture driven that during the Super Bowl game, the offensive linemen were telling the defensive linemen what play was coming, where it was going to go. And they said, we're just going to out execute you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't stop us, for sure.
Now, you said something.
When you get things dialed in, you can kind of do that even in business. When you know what you're doing and the rest of the team knows and everybody's aligned, you're going to get some wins. You're going to execute in a way that's very effective.
Well, you said something. I put you on the spot at our last sales boot camp, and it actually had such an impact. It changed the way one of the other companies were dealing with their salespeople. And it was something like this, and then correct me. Here, we do things this way. Mm-hmm. Can you say it the way you said it?
Well, it's probably a riff that I borrowed from Seth Godin, which is people like us do things like this. And that's a way of dialing in the culture to say, here, we do things this way. And if you're people like us and you belong here, then this will resonate with you and you'll fit right in. And if it doesn't, that's okay. But then you can't be here because this is the way we do things here. And that's, again, gets back to documenting these things, writing it down and making sure people are aware of it and know it. Part of the reason we do appreciation every morning is in the daily stand-up is that's part of the culture. That make it better is one of the core values. And part of that is obviously do good work is part of make it better, but also appreciate and recognize each other. And so we'll start our stand-up with good news and appreciation. And it's a chance for people to appreciate each other, but it also reinforces that core value. Like, oh yeah, people like us do things like this. One of our core values is make it better, appreciate people. So every day we're going to appreciate people because that's a core value. So we're trying to find ways to live these things because you don't ever want your core values to just be that thing that's over on the wall that people need to go over and read to remember what it says. And even then it doesn't really matter or make sense. You got to be living these things. They got to be real and you got to reinforce them. So,
well, that statement, there was a company in the room that I been working with, and cautioning them about allowing people to operate outside of their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And when I put you on the spot and you said it, and it wasn't coming from me, it came from somebody that was at their peer level, which was
Mm-hmm.
CEO of a large company, they made some changes.
Okay.
And that and one of the people that was off the reservation is no longer in the reservation.
Yeah.
And they're better for it.
Absolutely. And that person's probably better for it, because if
They
you're
are.
truly not a fit somewhere, you're not having fun either. It's not good to go. You don't fit in, and it's a struggle. And some people hang in there because they don't feel like they have better alternatives. But once they get out, I've had people that have left organizations I've worked with that came back and said, that was the best thing that ever happened. That day that I quit, or that day that I got fired, I thought it was the worst day, but it turned out to be the best thing, because I've found an organization where I really click and I'm having a great time. I'm succeeding. I'm doing well. Kind of thank you so much for firing me was the net of the message. But yeah, because if you're not a fit, it's not good for you either. So it helps the organization to have the right people there, and it helps the people that aren't the right people for that company to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
everybody's made differently, and we all can thrive somewhere. So if you're not thriving where you are, take a hard look at that and maybe go somewhere else. Because if you don't, eventually your leaders are going to come around and go, you don't really fit here. And so either make that choice voluntarily, or it's probably going to be made for you at some point.
When did you go into this, owning your own business and going in to do CEO work with companies? When was that?
Yeah, that was probably 12 or 13 years ago now. And it's been a series of mostly referrals. So you'll appreciate that as a sales guy. And that comes back to building the network. And so I had a long run at one company, an plastic injection molding company. And then when I left there, I started a series of interim assignments, and some of them were months long. Some of them were years long, sometimes one at a time, sometimes multiple things at a time. And so it's been that series of things, and it's just evolved into working that way.
Good. What is your favorite leadership book?
Oh, I would say Thou Shall Prosper. It's by Rabbi Daniel Lapin. It's probably right here. There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah. Great book about what it takes to be successful as a person as well as business. Give you a great perspective about what business is and what we're trying to do, and why it works and why it's important, and serving people. It starts with service, that your job is to find things that other people need done and go do those. And he calls money certificates of appreciation. When you do something that someone else values, they give you a certificate of appreciation with a president on it. And that's what it is. And you can't get those unless you serve somebody. And the more you serve, the more of those you get. And so when you look at people that have a lot of those certificates with presidents on them, they have served a lot of people. And it really helps you to focus on how to scale yourself, and how do I reach more people and help more people. So I would say that's a great go-to that a lot of people have not read or heard of. So
great.
I like to promote that one. So back up to that is anything by Jim Collins, Good to Great,
Oh, yeah.
How the Mighty Have Fallen,
Oh, yeah.
any of those. And people, it's kind of cliche, but they are genuinely good books. And he's got some great concepts that I use every day.
Yeah.
And if I can throw a third one in, I know this is a favorite of yours, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Oh, yeah.
Also a great book that's so practical, because it's so much about people and relationships and communication. So helpful. So
great. Well, I know this,
but
I know that you're in a CEO role, but I know you're also open to speak for organizations, to whether it's virtual or live keynoting, to do trainings, to do coaching. Can you tell these folks how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest kind of one-step move is go to kentrupke.com. You can get my contact information from there. My phone number, always available for a conversation, 616-822-2998. Call or text. I will get back to you, and we'll get something on the calendar. I love making connections with people, because you just never know. And I don't expect that contact is necessarily going to be fruitful directly, but indirectly. And by that, I mean, I'm going to know somebody that can help that person, or they're going to know somebody that can help me. Maybe we can do something together, but that's less likely, but that's
Right.
okay. And so I'm always open to having a conversation, because everyone has a network that maybe has some overlap with your network, but probably has a lot of new people in there, and it just builds you up. Again, that's where opportunities come from, and that's where solutions to problems come from, as bigger networks. So please reach out, kentrupke.com, or give me a call.
Fantastic. Hey, team, this has been great. We're going to be moving Ken over to sellmorevirtually.com. And by the way, let me promote sellmorevirtually.com. Go on there and check it out. You may want to be a member, but right now we're offering a free course, 9 Essentials of Sales Success. Whether you're a member or not, it's going to pop up right on the slide, and you just register. It's free. 9 Essentials of Sales Success. But right now, take out your phone, put in Sales Edge in the text box, text it to 55678. Take you to Pici and Pici, which will take you to a splash page. There are the 9 essentials there. There's so much more information there. Folks, if this is an asset to you, can you like it, share it, and write a comment? Thank you so much. And let's move over with Ken to Sell More Virtually.